Hi, my name's Louise Brockman. I'm the founder and CEO of the Advisory Board Centre. I'm here with Certified Chair Scott Kronick over in Asia. Welcome, Scott.
Hi, welcome to you. Thank you.
Scott, I'm very interested in your background and your experience with advisory boards, but maybe to start with, are you okay to share a bit about your background?
Sure. I am a 35-year employee of Ogilvy and work and particularly lead the public relations discipline throughout, have been doing that throughout Asia Pacific for the last 30 years. I'm a public relations person by profession and worked a bit in New York before coming out to Asia, but I've spent about 50% of my life in the United States and 50% of my time in Asia. And we've built a large business throughout Asia. I think we're one of the largest international public relations networks in Asia. And I am, and in China, we have the biggest office where I reside. At the end of last year, I stepped down from my leadership role and play an advisory role at the company and do some things on my own, but have had a full career of being a public relations person throughout Asia Pacific.
That's great. And Scott, I remember when we first met, you were telling me about the instance when Ogilvy implemented an advisory board for its China operations. Do you want to share a bit of that story?
Sure. So I must tell you that I am the biggest fan of putting advisory board recommendations into my client operations because I've had such a great experience. I just finished running one for a client of mine that just was incredibly valuable for them and helped me also as a professional. So I swear by these. But I learned this, and prior to even meeting you, and why I was so excited about joining your network was years ago. It must have been maybe more than a decade ago. Our CEO at the time asked me. I ran a government relations business in China, and government's very important. And he said, you know, I think all of our executives at Ogilvy could learn from outside counsel from others in the market. Sometimes we're too inward looking, and many organizations are like that. Said, so could you gather a collection of experts in different areas in China and come in and just sit and I'll invite the leaders of the business and have them, and we'll moderate a session and have them tell us what they think we should be doing. So I had a Chinese professor from Tsinghua University. I had a former diplomat, so a mixture of Chinese and Westerners. And we had about 5 people. We had one of China's leading Western economists. And each of them came in and said, you know, this is what's happening in China. This is where it's leading. If I was running a branding business like yours or a public relations business, I would do this. And each of them, and our CEO at the time was a guy by the name of Miles Young. He's brilliant operator, and he was fascinated by all the comments. There was one professor from Tsinghua University, and he said to them, if I was you, I would do for the Chinese government and municipalities in the branding area what you do for companies. And that led to a side conversation later on. And we set up something. He was a Tsinghua University professor. And we set up a program called the Tsinghua Ogilvy Center for Public Branding. And basically it was to study how you know, we called it the branding states practice, but how cities, states, and countries and everything brand themselves or use communications to build reputation. And that we were early on in that, and that gave us a real bump. So at the time when every city was looking for, oh my gosh, Chengdu wants to go and brand themselves as a travel destination, and Shanghai as an investment destination. And we were getting all these calls from different municipalities on what to do. It led to kind of us being the experts. We did a ton of workshops. We've done a ton of thought leadership around this, and it led us to being experts in the area of public branding. And it really gave us a boost. To this day, we get cities and we get countries and we get other offices within the Ogilvy network calling us up, asking for all of our thought leadership in this area. So that came out of a advisory board meeting and an idea from one of the advisors.
That's incredible. You just never know where those conversations go when you get a group of people together.
It was really brilliant. I mean, the importance of getting an outside perspective for people who are just kind of have their tunnel vision on what their jobs are and what they need to do. It is so important and so valuable. And since then, for global CEOs that have come out to China, when I tell that story, when global CEOs that come out to China, I've had my clients or the CEOs of the businesses out here say, can you pull together experts that can sit around and we can have a conversation about what's going on in the market? What should we do? What should we watch out for? What are the real things on the ground? I mean, the importance of having a on the ground perspective versus what you read in the global media for many visiting executives to China, or many people that are important in running global businesses. It's very important. So I'm bullish on the whole advisory board concept, and have put them as a recommendation for many of our clients.
That's terrific. And you're personally involved in advisory boards in startups and scale-ups, with the Special Olympics. Scott, with your, I guess you've had various lenses on advisory boards. What does best practice mean for you and the advisory board sector for the future, do you think?
I think best practice is bringing a varied, an array of different viewpoints to a organization or a client to help them share a perspective on something that they might not be looking out for. So I think that is, so getting an array of different people involved. And making sure that you create an environment, an inclusive environment where they can share and feel free to share what they're best at. And sometimes the greatest ideas come from some of the quietest people, or some of the most different. It's really important, I think, for organizations to bring in people that have a totally different perspective.
Thank you.
Now, with that, you mentioned the Special Olympics. I mean, I love that for myself because, first of all, I love to be involved in something as meaningful as the Special Olympics. This is with mostly with people with intellectual disabilities. But the quality of people that I sit on the advisory board with, I've reached out to them later and asked them to join my advisory board. So just there's something that I learned from that famous author, Jim Collins, called surface area luck. And that is, the more people that you interact with and you talk about the things that you're doing, the greater impact it has on kind of your chances for, intersecting with something interesting and doing something that comes from just a chance meeting with someone that you might not have originally come in contact with. So I'm a fan. What can I tell you?
Thank you so much for sharing that, and also for the good work that you're doing in advisory boards. And it's wonderful that you're part of our global community. So I look forward to future stories, Scott, of your current adventures that you have now.
My pleasure. I am delighted, and I really appreciate being part of your center, and have learned so much from you as well. So I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Thanks, Scott. We'll talk soon.
Okay.